Welcome to Get the Net, a fishing podcast that takes a deep dive into competitive events, fishing news, tips, tactics, and most importantly, interviews with some of the most interesting and in-tuned anglers from Canada to the central U.S. We're leaving no stone unturned to bring you the most raw and authentic dock talk. My name is Jamie Bruce. While my resume says bass, my frying pan says walleye. I'm no stranger to the multi-species realm. Whether you're puttering on tackle, driving the bus, cutting the grass, or killing time in a 9 to 5, we'll try to give you something in every episode to take with you on the water, or at the very least, bring you a few laughs. What's going on, fishing world? Jamie Bruce here, back for round 3 to Get the Net. Just got back from Sturgeon Bay, and we're cranking up number 3 here. Pumped 2 in a row, the last couple Thursdays, and as I mentioned, I was going to do them bi-weekly, so I skipped last week. I was down in Sturgeon Bay, giving her on the fishing front, so didn't really feel like toiling with a bunch of cords and microphones and all that. So here we are for the third round. Bunch going on in the region right now. Tons of flooding in northwestern Ontario and northern Minnesota. We just drove back through it all, and it's an absolute atrocity. Haven't seen it this high in the spring ever. It's over or at most docks. It's been carnage around Kenora. There's boathouses floating around, and boathouses piling up, and docks getting broken. The Coney Island footbridge, I heard, got taken out by the ice road. So it's a bad scene right now. There's people attached to Black Sturgeon, the Winnipeg River, that are being evacuated from their homes because they can't get there. So kind of unprecedented and not a good scene right now. And talking fishing is a little less important than what's going on there right now, but we're here to do it. It's spring, and hell or high water, it's fishing time. So as far as regional water updates go, talked to a buddy, Matt Goldamer, on Rainy Lake. He runs Sunset Country Outfitters on Campfire Island, really wicked spot on Rainy Lake, right close to town. I was talking to him. He said the water's over his docks. He's making things work there. So it sounds like Rainy Lake is a little bit on the higher side. The river's just gushing right now into Lake of the Woods. Lake of the Woods is high. I went and put a big water cube on my dock and weighted it down before I left. And yeah, good thing I did, because the water looked like it came up about a week and a half before I got back. So the biggest issues right now are on Black Sturgeon and the Winnipeg River. As I mentioned earlier, it's just a bad scene right now. So, but anyway, it's been a busy week on my end. I kicked it off at Chris Stapleton concert the night before I went to Sturgeon Bay, which was unreal in Winnipeg. That guy's as good at pouring his heart out through the mic than anyone is at anything, in my opinion. It was an amazing thing, and just unreal. Nice to be back at a big event like that. And yeah, the next morning, hopped in the rig and just started driving straight to Sturgeon Bay. Big smallmouth on the mind. Hadn't been down there in 4 years, so I was itching. Picked up Brian McNanny on the way. That was a bit of a journey getting down there. It's usually only about a 12 or 11 hour drive from Kenora. We extended that to about 14, and made her down there at midnight. My buddy Raz was waiting up for us, so yeah, it was all good. So it was a really weird year down in Sturgeon Bay this year. There's always a tournament before the big Sturgeon Bay Open Bass Tournament. There's usually a 60 or 70 boater called the Sturgeon Bay Bass Tournament. And the way the weekends lined up and the opener and all that, they couldn't have it on the weekend they usually do, which is the weekend before the tournament. So they moved it to a Monday, Tuesday tournament before the other big tournament, which is pretty tight. 2 tournaments back to back is already a lot. And now there was only a couple day break in between tournaments. So whatever, that was fine. But what had happened was on Monday, it blew like crazy there. It was just honking out of the south. Small craft advisory. They had to postpone the tournament for that day. So anybody signed up for the tournament, any of those 60 boats had to sit on the bench the whole day. And we got to go out in that mega wind, and we absolutely lit them on fire. It was sweet. We had 27 or 28 pounds, bunch of 5 pounders, caught them on bait casters with chatterbaits for the first time down there ever. The wind was ripping. I could see them on my graph. They were up off the bottom, and it was just an absolute whack fest. We had the whole run of the place. It was windy as could be. So absolute dream day to kick off the week. And then the next day the tournament rolled around, and it got tough to pre-fish. Everything's just so condensed down there. You kind of have to be in these key areas to catch fish, and all these key areas had buddies and tournament anglers in them that I didn't want to get in their way. So we just kind of fished around. It was tough. Over those 2 days we caught like maybe 10 bass total. And in the tournament too, there were lots of really low weights, lots of good anglers that usually catch them down there, especially the Canadian ones. Really had a tough time even getting a limit. So it was one of those years where you kind of had to be right on the sweet spot. But I mean, that first tournament ended up having some pretty good weights. Shout out to Dave Bennett, who was on the last podcast, and buddy Brad Leitner from Minnesota, and Jimmy Dewering took the W. Buddy Adam Rasmussen got 5th, I think. He's a local hammer down there. And the fellow we're going to talk to tonight, he got 4th, I believe. So, and they were all good weights. It took a 28 pound a day average to win, which works out to a 560 average per smallmouth bass, which is absolutely unfathomable. It's unlike any place I've ever been, and the fact that it's only 10 or 12 hours from the house is pretty special too. Like I said, it was a grinder week, but cool stuff happens there. There's exotics. Like on the last day of the tournament, actually, I hooked a great big shiny thing with like 10 minutes to go, and it went. I caught it on a swim bait in 2 feet of water, a little smeltinator head, and I hooked this thing, and it just took off like I hooked the arse end of a freight train. Went screaming across this great big flat. It's flat, calm out. There's like 10 boats around, every single person, within a few hundred yards of me. You could hear my drag exploding. This thing was just running away from me as fast as it could. I may as well have had a fighting belt on. I had my, the butt of my rod dug into my cheeseburger locker, and this thing's just screeching across the flat. So it's going, everyone's watching. It jumps like 4 feet in the air like a tarpon. I just screamed out. I was like, sweet, I got a Chinook salmon on. Grab the grill. And one of the locals just yelled out, it's a huge brown trout. It was like a 20 pounder. Ended up it broke me off. It got into the zebra mussels down there and snapped my line. But that's something that's not going to happen to me the rest of the year. It's cool to see them exotics and in crystal clear water and be out on the big ocean lake. So it was pretty sweet. We had deadly accommodations for the week. Adam Rasmussen and Allie put us up really good. Had a shop to tuck the Lund into, and just had a quality time in general. Pretty much lived in a well, let's say a social setting, for lack of a better term. And we're able to unwind a little bit, and it was good to see a bunch of buddies down there that I haven't seen in a long time. So really happy with the week and the decision to go down there. Like I said, I made that decision because I didn't think the ice was going to be out on Falcon Lake, but they ended up postponing the tournament anyway, so I'm still going to get to fish Falcon in a couple weeks with Ashley. So it all worked out on that front. Brian and I had a decent finish in the tournament. We ended up 22nd. We had 25.5 on the first day for 5 bass. So a 5 pound, 1 ounce average. We were like a 3-way tie for 16th, out of 142 boats, which it's nothing to scoff at. It's just crazy to bring in bass that big and still get your arse kicked. So, and then the second day it slicked right off and got super tough. We hit probably a 6 or 7 hour lull in non-catchment of bass, and put her together at the end of the day and caught some in a crucial period, and then hooked that brown trout and went and weighed in. So They got a good payout there. We got a good check, and paid for the gas and the entry and all that, and kind of treat those tournaments like a vacation a little bit. I'm sure most people are like me. If you're fishing a tournament for a week, it's one of your few vacation weeks a year, and it's a tough line to toe to ensure you're getting some vacation in and still wanting to compete and do well in the tournament. So that's the biggest struggle there, but it's a good problem to have. So before we move on to our guest here, just want to talk about a couple things, couple sponsor deals again. Cambat batteries, mine just showed up at the house. I had my old ones from last year down at Sturgeon Bay, and like I said, that wind day we outlasted any boat out there. I don't know if that was because it was just miserable out, or if we just outlasted them, but we launched at 7, fished till 2 in the craziest wind I've ever fished in my life. I was on 10 the entire time on the trolling motor. So 10 on the troller for 7 hours is pretty damn good. I mean, if I had lead batteries that day, I would have been done at like 10 o'clock. So definitely check those out at cambat.com. Use the promo code Bruce5. You'll get some money off there, free shipping in Canada, and I mean gas is $2 a liter right now. So you're going to be standing on your trolling motor a lot this summer if you're a nickel squeezer like me. So throw them things in there and you can pretty much fish for free. If you want to hop over here a couple miles there, you can just stand on it and go. So I mean, they're big cost up front. Like there's no denying that. But they got an 11-year warranty. You don't have to worry about them. If you do the math, you're going to come out way ahead. And that's not even mentioning the weight savings and all the other advantages to that. So the ones I got this year actually have a Bluetooth chip in them that go to your phone, and it'll show me what levels they're at, what voltage, and all that stuff. So can't wait to try those out. They're super cool. And this week again, we're going to hook you up with the promo code Get the Net at btfishing.com. Uh, Punch it in, you'll get 10% off your first order. Those Smeltinator jigs are an absolute weapon. I can't think of the last time I fished a tournament and didn't catch them on the Smeltinator jig. Cherokee, I caught almost all of them on the 3/8 with a 5-inch minnow. This last tournament at Sturgeon Bay, we caught every single one of our fish on an 1/8 ounce 1/0 Smeltinator jig head with a little 3-inch Z-Man slim swim. So it's just one of those things you don't want to put down. They're widely known across the bass fishing realm now, and they're just a weapon. We've got the Smeltinator underspin. We've got really cool Ned rig heads that no one else has, and that reason is because we design them ourselves, and we get this kind of unique thing that maybe companies that don't fish tournaments don't have that edge. So check those out, Marabou jigs, whatever else. Like I said, enter promo code Get the Net and get 10% off your first order and free shipping over $99 anywhere. We'll ship to Canada, US. Well, that's it, but that's pretty much anywhere in the bass fishing realm. And one more plug here, I just wanted to point out. I figured I better say something. I got a 7.6 13 fishing Omen rod just before I went down to Sturgeon Bay. The rod's like $120 US, and I really needed some medium light rods before I went down there. So I got this thing, just kind of thinking it would do the job. Well, I used it with that Smeltinator jig and swim bait combo. 6-pound Pro Mix line, super affordable, just good quality Suffolk braided line. And I pretty much didn't put this rod down all week. I caught my personal best smallmouth on it a couple times. And, it's just one of those things that is built really quality, does everything I need a medium light tournament spinning rod to do, and just happens to be super affordable. So check those out at Lake of the Woods Sports. And you can find them online too. There's the Omen Golds, which are really nice and affordable as well. So anyway, let's move out to commercial corner here. We'll bring on our guests. We've got Adam Nye, champion of the Sturgeon Bay Open Bass Tournament 2022. What's up, bud?
Oh, not much. Not too much.
No?
No, just got done with work.
Yeah, down at the tackle shop.
Back at the tackle shop, yep.
Well, that's not a bad place to go back to on a Monday, huh?
No, it's not. It's not too bad.
Nice one. Did you go fishing yesterday or take a break?
I took a break. Yeah, you know, 4 of the
Yeah,
last 5 days of tournament fishing really wore me out.
yeah,
I was
man.
tired.
Yeah, it's a wild one, especially dealing with
Mhm.
the heat and wind and everything you guys got to
Yeah.
do down there.
Yeah, it was just a lot. Yeah, fishing was brutal a couple days, so
Yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy down there that it can be so bad but so good at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, the fish are just I've never I haven't seen a year like this since 2016. They're just huge this year. I mean, it's so hard to catch 5 that don't weigh 23 to 25 pounds.
Yeah, yeah, I picked a good year to come back. But anyway, wanted to have you on and congratulate you and your partner Grant Ellenfelt on the big win, man. That's a big deal, and people might not know too much about this massive open bass tournament. I feel like you should get a little bit of love for it. And you had a good finish the weekend before too. You were one of the few that did good in both events. So congrats, dude.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's pretty fortunate to have a good finish in both of them. It's kind of feels good. It's about time I can string a couple days together like that. Being a local out here, I just it's a hard place to fish, especially once you put that many boats on it, and it's hard to stay focused more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine that's got to be like your biggest problem. I couldn't imagine. There's eight or ten of you really good locals, and you're used to going out there and smashing them, and then you throw a 140 hillbillies on top of you with bass boats
Yeah.
chasing after the fish you've been staring at all year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, staying focused is huge. I've definitely in the past scrambled a little bit, had a good day, scrambled on day two, or just got frustrated with the boats around. I mean, we're not used to fishing with any boats around other than these few weeks here. So, yeah, it's feels good to just kind of level off. I was fortunate enough to catch them early every single day of both tournaments and really just slows you down, gets you going in the right direction. And yeah, it's a pretty cool event.
Yeah, bud. Well, I saw you. I think it was the second day of the first tournament.
Hmm.
Um, I was way out off the end of one of those flats. We
Hmm.
weren't in the tournament and didn't wanna nose in and get in anyone's way, and you came from behind us and asked if you could go in front of us. Like, we weren't in the tournament, we don't live there, and you came up cool as a cucumber, asked politely if you could go around us, which, like, if I was a local there, I never would have done that. I would have just blown by me, like, get the hell out of the way. So that
Yeah,
kinda says a lot about your temperament, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with, why you were able to deal with the crowds out there and throwing at the same spot as 6 other boats.
yeah, yeah, and it's the you got to be kind of temperamental out here. I mean, I've seen guys crash and burn in the past, or they get a wrap and then people stop letting them cut in or do stuff. And I've seen guys get bad name out here. I always try to be as respectful as possible. I mean, yesterday or on Saturday, I had a non-tournament boat back by me catching fish, and he came in and he asked if he could fish back there, and I said, "Yeah, that's fine. If you could just not drive through this one little area where we had him going." I'm like, "I don't care if you fish around me. It's just I don't. You're gonna spook the whole school off and ruin it for both of us if you drive through there." And he was totally understanding with it. So it definitely helps being able to do that. And there's another Canadian boat that let us sneak behind him on day one. I asked if I could sneak behind his boat because I actually put my boat up on the rocks on the inside of him because he was sitting in the only cut that you can get through this little rock bar on. And he
Yeah.
let us sneak through, and actually we started catching him to the inside of him after he let us sneak by, and I told him to slide over, and we both sat there and pounded the crap out of him for
Yeah,
a
you guys
good half hour. Yeah.
and we were watching it, I was probably half a mile from you, and we could see the flies start to come in, you could
Hmm.
see 3 boats on the inside, and then the flags were just flying, and there was,
No.
like, 30 boats put their trolling motor on high and just nosed right in.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Yep.
tried to when I saw that happen and I knew what was going down back there, I tried to get out and around everyone. I didn't want to get in anyone's way, so I tried to come over the top of that rock pile, which previous years you could. Turns out this year your bass boat does not float over it. Trust me, I tried. I had to
Banged
get
her
out
up.
and I had to get out and push her off the rock bar a little bit. Um, but he was nice enough to let us slide in behind him, and I caught one key fish back there, and actually right next to me, he caught a. I think they had 2611. I can't remember the guy's name right now. They just said they're from Kenora. They had
Yeah. Was he in a boat that looked like mine?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, Cole and Paul Forsyth.
yeah, yep, yep. I think that was yeah. They let us slide behind them, and we caught a good one and a couple other decent fish. And he slid over and he caught a 6 pounder next to us, and it's kind of cool. I mean, just sharing water. We both taloned down feet from each other, and he was a cool dude. He let us in. And I wasn't gonna cut him off from the fish after he let us in, so
Yeah.
kind of worked out well that way. And yeah, I mean, you just gotta you in the crowd of that many boats, you can't be rude. I mean, it's you're gonna get screwed otherwise. Someone's not gonna let you in. Someone's gonna cut you off. I mean, yeah, it's we deal with it every year, and I'm just kind of used to it at this point.
Was the local boat that came in the second day, or the non-tournament boat, was he using bait or artificials?
He was artificial. There was another one back there floating bait. And I saw them catch a lot of them, which is a little frustrating, to say
Yeah.
the least. Yeah, they were catching a lot of fish, and they were in that mood. I mean, they get in a pre-spawn mood like the day or 2 days before they spawn. They were in it last year for this tournament, and
Mhm.
they just get in that mood. And if you don't just slow down and fish, if you start seeing all these fish and drive around and wonder why you can't get them to bite, they won't. You'll catch one out of every 500 you see. It feels like, and you'll see a 30-pound bag swimming everywhere, and they just won't eat anything. It's just frustrating. But if you can just slow down and pick off the last few that want to bite, it's kind of what we had to do. And until we were getting a couple bites an hour until about 2 o'clock on Saturday. Then they were just done. I think we caught one more fish after that, but we had enough by that point, I guess. I mean, kind of surprised us when we came to the scale. We did not think we had what we had. So,
Yeah, yeah, well, it worked out. I mean, I heard from a few people that your boat doesn't hide well at all. You got the big yeah.
no.
The only guy that sticks out more is Mark Courts in that red battleship he's in.
Hmm.
So, everyone sees you, everyone knows who you are, and I heard it from a few people now that it was an absolute light show.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, you hurt some guys' feelings doing whatever you were doing.
Yeah, day one, we heard a lot of feelings on day one. We pulled in the cedars. I wanted to start in a cut that we caught the crap out of them out of in the tournament before the local derby, and I couldn't get into it. And I was kind of watching from the north end, keeping away from everyone. And the guys up in the cut weren't catching them. I'm like, well, maybe that wind took them and put them right on the bank. Like maybe they left it. And we kind of just went to the north end, got way up shallow, 100 yards inside of everyone. Everyone was out in like 4 to 8 foot, and we stuck under 4 foot of water. And we put a we put a clinic on right away in the morning. We probably caught 15 in the first 45 minutes on day one, and we had 24 pounds easily within the first 7 fish we caught. So it
Yeah,
was fun.
and
Yeah.
there's 20 other boats with empty live wells.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I watched one or two other fish get net, and we put a herd on them right away. We did it. I mean, we've had a couple of little runs like that, and it's kind of what it takes out here. You keep your head down and you fish, and when they bite, you gotta capitalize on it. I mean, they're definitely little windows where they eat, and it's like that kind of everywhere that I've been, especially with smallmouth. It's goofy. You could fish around the same fish as someone else is, and they could leave, and the moment they leave, they turn on, and you shouldn't have left that school because they'll bite. It's just kind of a goofy deal. It's always a timing deal, and we
Yeah,
got on a good roll both days. And I think two, we had a little of a bad roll in the morning, but I kind of just settled down. We whacked 1 5-pounder, and I rolled back into the spot where he caught the one fish in the morning and put 6 in the boat in like 10 minutes, which really just slowed me down. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, you guys and the other good locals there, Raz and Caleb, like
hmm
you guys are obviously way more dialed than kind of the rest of the fleet on. And I know it's not just your bait. Like it's
yeah.
do you think the bait or the angle of the cast is more important for cracking them things?
It depends on the day. Um, I mean, obviously in this tournament, we're not allowed to throw certain baits in a rig or multiple bait rigs. I'd say when that thing's going, it's more the bait than anything else. Uh,
Right. So it's a good
obviously, we're not to throw it in this tournament, so we didn't have to deal with that because we call it the field leveler
yeah.
when that thing's going. Because you could have some guy that has no idea how to smallmouth fish with 50-pound braid straight on a giant flipping stick, throwing it in a rig with hooks everywhere, and he could crack a 30-pound bag without even knowing what he's doing.
Sounds like
So
fun.
yeah, it is fun. It's a blast until you're in a tournament and you watch some guy that has no idea what he's doing whack him next to you throwing that thing. So kind of nice having a tournament that it's not allowed in.
Yeah.
Kind of gives us a little bit more of an advantage because there are certain little sweet spots. I mean, you kind of just learn an area as you go, and there's just little depressions or little rock bars, or I mean, even just the smallest thing these fish relate to, especially the bigger ones year in and year out. I mean, I caught a 580 and a 520 off the same exact cast 2 days in a row in Riley's. The
Yeah.
exact same cast.
Did it hurt
So,
you in that tournament before having to weigh 'em? Like, hang them off the scale when you just wanted to be casting back?
oh yeah, for sure. In the morning it did. Yeah, we had a school going in the morning on day two that I was allowed to throw 4 rods in there, I would have caught 4 bass. Like it was that disgusting. We caught 25 and under an hour. It was every single cast, and that's having to weigh them in between to see if they call, see if they don't call, and they're all the first two we caught were the biggest ones. But I mean, if we could have just kept casting in there, it would have been insane how many we could have caught. But obviously, got to take a minute or 2 minutes out, depending on how long it takes to lock the scale to get them
Yeah.
figured out.
Yeah, that's a tough one because you gotta make hay while the sun shines there. Actually, had a crazy story on the first morning around 10 o'clock. I caught a 5.5 pounder, um, down near towards the back and netted it, and it had like a custom hair jig in its mouth.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
one you don't usually see. So it had like 2 inches of line on it. And I was like, oh, this guy just whatever, didn't retie or got zebra muscled or runs
hmm
brutal line or whatever. So I threw it in the box and I showed Raz or one of my buddies after the hair jig and they're like, oh, that's Luke Ronestrand's.
Oh
So I
yeah.
talked to him after the weigh-in and I was like, that was a big one, man. Like, why'd you bust that off? And he's like, dude, I caught 6 bass I caught him every cast. He's like, I didn't even have time. Like, I wasn't thinking. I didn't check my leader. It was just giants every
hmm
cast. He was just launching back and it busted off. And I caught it like 40 minutes later, 500 or 700 yards down the bay.
Yeah. It's pretty
So,
amazing that they'll eat after that. I mean, that thing had no idea what the heck happened to it. Probably thought it got
yeah,
stung or something.
yeah, I looked at my partner and I was like, we're giving these things too much credit, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've said that a lot. I mean, I think they're the smartest fish one day, and the next day, every single one will bite anything that you throw at it. So they're yeah, we give them a little too much credit on days, but that second day of that tournament, those were smart. Those fish were not in the eating mood, and when they get in that mood, they're smart, and they will not eat something that they don't want to. So
Yeah, I noticed that real quick, and I used to feel bad for the bass in Sturgeon Bay because of all the tournaments and all the
Mhm.
local pressure, and it's just such a spectacle. Everyone wants to catch a 6 or 7 pound smallmouth, and then on that flat, slick, calm day, like, I mean, 500 is a big number to throw out there, but you see 500 bass over 5 pounds.
Mhm.
Like, if
Oh yeah.
you're it's I'm just
And
like,
that's
these
just, I mean, that's just the first wave. I mean, there's 2, 3, 4 spawning waves some year. I mean, we ran into a school of fish in late June last year down south that were pre-spawners. I mean, these fish are coming out of really deep water. They had no idea it was spring yet. And I mean, that school was just as big as any school I've ran into in May. I mean, they're huge. They're all 4 to 6 pounds, and they're all pre-spawn. Water's 70 degrees. You wouldn't think you'd find a pre-spawn, but they were there. So,
uh, well, that's cool, man. How long you been fishing this thing? How long did this take?
it's either my 15th or 16th year. I started fishing when I was 11 or 12. I can't remember exactly which one. I think 15 years. I'm pretty sure I took 1 year off when I was in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say until I got out of college and really put a lot of time out here in the spring, I didn't really understand it. And over the last couple of years, everything kind of started clicking, and now I feel like I can just junk fish. Like I don't have to have a school going, and I can if I go to somewhere and I don't catch them, it's not a big deal. I can run around and make something happen. That's always a good feeling, just being able to fish off a cuff, basically. I mean, fish off of history and fish off of what I think they should be doing, make the right decisions. And it's hard to do. I mean, these fish move a lot. I mean, they don't move like 100 yards; they move a mile, and you'll catch the exact same fish, a mile away the next day.
Yeah, that's why guys catch 26 or 27 pounds and then 14 pounds the next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's
yeah, and they
crazy.
move. I mean, they haul, and these fish find their way back too. I mean, a lot of these tournament fish. I had a fish that had a broken back a few years ago that I caught in the summer. Caught it
Mhm.
way out on Larson's Reef, and 2 springs later, I caught the exact same fish, and I kind of looking through old photos, and I didn't realize it at the first. I'm like, holy crap, I've caught this one before. Like it's the same fish. It had a broken back, same markings, same everything. And then the following spring, someone caught it in the Sturgeon Bay Open, another mile away from where I caught it the year before.
Huh.
Yeah,
Crazy.
they're nuts. Yeah, they
Crazy.
they they move a lot. They're picky on some days, and other days they're just piranhas. I mean, you've seen both sides of it out here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That wind day, we got the pond to ourselves that day.
Hmm.
Um, we launched in little sturgeon and we just smashed them. You get the run of the place, the wind's just chugging, the water dirtied up, and it was just incredible. And then,
Yeah,
the next day you go out there and you're just a loser again. But
yeah.
at
That's
least
that's typically when it's amazing is when that water gets dirty. We had a If you get a dirty water year, it can be just an incredible year. But yeah, it's very rare we see one of those. But when that
yeah,
water gets dirty, these things are they eat and they eat
yeah,
off a feel. They're not so much picky. They don't look at it as much. They get a split second to react. So
yeah. My partner, that was his first ever experience in Sturgeon Bay. So he just thought that's how it was gonna be all week.
so he's ruined forever now.
No, yeah, no boats around and catch a 6 pounder on, every other cast. So he learned quick that it can be grindy out there. I got to rewind for a second here, though. You said you've been fishing it for 15 years since you were 12, so you're 27.
26.
Oh man,
Um,
I thought you
yeah.
were like 43 with that beard.
No,
I
no,
honestly,
twenty-six.
you fish it for 15 years. I figured you'd been around forever. So you know, you're cherry fresh. You're just getting started.
Yeah, yeah, it's that I was trying to remember back when we when we won this that day, I was kind of talking to people. I was trying to think who was the youngest to win it. I think Corey and Chris might have got me beat when they were really young. They won once. It was a
Yeah,
long time ago, but
I think it
yeah,
was 2012.
yeah,
I think Corey's my age, so that's 10 years ago. Yeah, he would have been right around 23, 24.
yeah. He was pretty young when he won his first one. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We got good and banged up after that.
no, I'm sure. Yeah, he likes that. So
Yeah. Well, I I creeped your derby results a little bit. I remember seeing you down south, and I know you've done some opens, and I've
mhm.
seen you on live. I don't remember where. Maybe up north. Was it Oneida or something last year?
St. Lawrence. Yeah,
St. Lawrence. Okay,
yeah.
so you made a top 10 there. It looks like you made a top 10. You fished fished the opens the last 3 years, and you've had a top 10 every year for the last 3 years.
I fished for 4 years, I think. This would be my fourth year.
Okay.
First year I cashed just one check. I think I was kind of straight out of college.
Yeah.
It was a real learning experience. And then we had the following year in Florida. I don't know if it might have been COVID year. I want to say the first
Right.
year of it or something. They had the Lay Lake tournament in December. I made
Yeah.
a top 10 there. Hmm. Made a top 10 there in December, top 10 on St. Lawrence in September last year, and then in Florida this spring I had a top 10.
Yeah. That's kind of three random top tens, and two of them weren't just like ninth place, third and a fourth, right? Third, fourth, and eighth that we
Yep.
saw.
Yep,
Yeah.
a third, a fourth. Yeah, the only one I really dropped, I dropped on the final day at Lay Lake. I just lost touch of my bite. I don't know where it went, but
Oh, that's the
yeah,
beauty of the end cut, though. You ain't dropping too far.
yeah, it was pretty cool. The Florida one was no idea how that happened. I mean, catching like 2 bass a day in practice. It was terrible. It's like
Yeah.
39 degrees out every day. It was freezing, and then somehow just junk fished up enough to make it. I mean, helped that I found a 7.5 pounder on a bed right in
Uh,
the last 10 minutes of day two. But
that'll do her. Well,
mhm.
I mean, yeah, I remember that tournament. I was sitting on the bench on the waiting list back in 38th position, and I wasn't that hurt that I couldn't make her because that weather
Yeah,
was good. So,
it
to
was
walk out,
brutal.
sweet.
Yeah, I never thought I'd see 40-degree water temp in Florida, and especially in February. But yeah, the one day I remember Ras launched about an hour earlier than us, and he's like, "You won't believe what I just had for water temp in this pocket." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "We got 40 degrees, like exactly 40, not even 41." 40. He's like,
Yeah,
"It's almost freezing." So
yeah, yeah. I was down there once. It was so cold in like January, February. The peacock bass were just dying.
yeah,
They get
yeah,
like
they.
down in that range, and they just go tits up and die in the canals. Like we were down
Hmm.
in South Florida a little bit, so it's kind of a
Yeah,
bummer going to Florida, get out of Iceland and freeze, but you walked out of there with a pretty sweet finish.
yeah. That was really unexpected. That was a cool finish. I think I
Yeah,
like the St. Lawrence a little better though. That place
I
is.
believe that it probably relates a little bit more to what you're used to.
Yeah, that place is pretty special up there. I kind of kicked myself. I should have probably. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those deals where I made the wrong decision on day one and scrambled and figured it out way late in the day, and next 2 days put a clinic on them. And but it happens. Corey made all the right decisions in that one, and he brought it home, so he
Yeah,
deserved that one.
yeah. Coop was leading that one after 2 days. I remember
Mm-hmm.
that.
Coop was leading. I think I went into the day in fifth or something into the last day and caught 27.5 pounds, anchored with 2.6 and a 6.5. But yeah, Corey was able to squeak her out. I know we all caught like the exact same size bag, and Coop just didn't catch them very good. So
Yeah. Do you think if you fish there in the spring, it would be better than Sturgeon Bay, like for a top end?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's we were there in September, and generally speaking, September and up north and smallmouth is like the toughest month, especially early September. Everywhere I've ever been, it's never great yet because it's not really fall, but it's not the end of summer, and it could be 90 degrees one day and 50 the next, and the fish just have no idea what they're doing. They're migrating. Yeah, I mean, that place was amazing. I mean, I caught 76 pounds of over 3 days and took third. Like, that's kind of unheard of for a smallmouth tournament, especially in that time of year.
yeah, especially kinda like, you guys weren't even there at the peak of the I guess it was better a few years ago there, right? Because it's gotten a
Hmm.
lot of attention since. I know they go and they get beat up pretty bad on the bed and you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think they have it a little better than us just because they have so much water. They
Right.
Sturgeon Bay, you look at a map, it looks huge, and you come here and like, how the heck do 70 boats fit on this flat? So
Yeah.
up there, you got hundreds of miles, and there's fish everywhere, and you can win that tournament on any portion of the river, any portion of the lake. I mean, it's that place is special up there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, hopefully you get to go back up there. I know the schedule is pretty garbage on the northern train this year. So, are you just doing the southerns or what's your plan?
Yeah, I just did the southerns. I kind of was thinking about doing the northerns because they were talking about going back, and I saw where they're going, and other than James River, it didn't look very good, so I kinda just bailed out on it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Are you gonna go to Hartwell in October?
mhm. Yep,
Nice.
I'll be down there, so that'll be that'll be a fun one. There's so many bass in that lake. That lake is full of them. 'em. They're not very big, but there's a lot of them. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm throwing the option around.
yeah.
It, sitting on like in 5th on the waiting list, so it would
Mhm.
just can't qualify for nothing because I missed the Florida one, but it, looks like a cool place to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Top water. It's always cool when you can catch fish in top water, especially a lot of them. I mean, those spots are nuts. They love shiny things on the surface, so
Yeah. Well, that sounds pretty fun. Um, well, you're obviously pretty well-rounded, you wanna you look at the map of tournaments you've top 10, they're kinda pretty much cover the whole spectrum, right? So, are you gonna stick with the opens and just kinda hopefully just morph these top 10s into a couple in a year and maybe squeeze into the elites, or are you just kinda doing it to do it?
my ultimate goal is to make the elites. We'll see what happens. I'm sure I'll take a year off here and there. It's getting to the point where it's getting harder that take that time off of work and be gone all that time to fish them. But
Yeah,
it's something I've been blessed to be able to do for the last few years. So I've been putting a lot of time into it, and yeah, I mean, the first 2 years I traveled with Jay Shakurt. He was my
yeah,
co-angler, so I've
yeah. He
learned
gone?
more from yeah, that kid's a hammer. I learned more from him than I learned from anyone else ever. He's even as a co-angler, that kid is just amazing.
Yeah,
He's got a bright career ahead of him.
yeah, he's fricking young too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Be on the lookout for him. He's kinda like that Cooper Gallant's a lot like him, I feel.
Mhm.
They're just super young, you know, hammers.
Mhm.
So, you're working at Howie's, right?
Yep.
They've got some juice. They've got
Yeah.
they've got some good tubes. Do you guys make those? Like, they're like a Howie's house brand, I see them.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. We make them. Got all kinds of custom colors that nobody else really pours, and yeah, we try to do our best with them. I mean, they catch fish. I mean, they just straight catch fish. We try to make them the consistency of them is like perfect in my mind. I've kind of had a hand in doing it. So was Rass,
Yeah.
and a lot of those colors came between me and him and a couple other locals, and just certain things that you need to have. So,
You got any sneaky ones that you don't sell?
there's some stuff we play around with, some colors.
Yeah.
Uh, Nothing. I mean, I don't think anything outstanding that's not sold. Every fish that I caught was on the color that we sell. So,
Yeah. Nice one. Where can guys get those and girls? You got a website?
yeah, they can get them right off the website, howiestackle.com. That's probably the easiest way. Otherwise, they can call down to the shop. Me and Lance would answer the phone anytime. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No one's
yeah,
gonna tubes better than tournament anglers in Sturgeon Bay. The
yeah,
tube capital of the world, it feels like.
yeah. We have. It feels like it. I mean, you go everywhere else in the country, and it's drop shot this, drop shot that, and these guys up here know how to fish a tube, and they fish them well. And like we brought it to the St. Lawrence, me and Gary did, and we both top 10 on a Howie's tube, and we caught them good. I mean, yeah, that was they liked it there. They loved that thing there. I don't think they saw many of them. They were you'd throw a drop shot to them on Panoptics, and they would swim away from it. They've seen so many lead weights fall on their head, and you
Yeah.
pitched a tube to it, and they'd eat it before it even touched bottom. Like they'd swim up and grab it. It was kind of awesome to watch.
Yeah, man. Beauty. Well, obviously you got something going with that thing. People are fishing so close to you that, everyone hears what you're throwing and all
Yeah.
that. That's just part of it. So, well, anything else you want to say? Anyone you want to plug or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of fortunate I get to do what I do. Lance, it always kind of gives me the time off. My friends and family all support me in it. So, girlfriend supports me, which is huge. So, yeah, just kind of blessed to get to do what I get to do, spend a lot of time out there, and I'm glad it finally paid off out here on this body of water. These guys are growing up. That's kind of all I've ever wanted is win one of these things, and for it to actually happen, especially against a field of 144 boats. I mean, it was pretty cool finally pulling off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got to feel good, man. Well, congrats again. Thanks for hopping on, and I'm sure we haven't seen the last of you, given your resume in the last little bit. So appreciate you coming on, and maybe we'll see you down at Hartwell.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, buddy, take care.
We'll see you.
Okay, well, that was Adam Nye, Sturgeon Bay local, opens angler, does well. He's done well across the globe, and yeah, thanks Adam for hopping on. And again, congrats to Grant Ellenfelt, his partner. I don't know if I said that right. I got it written down here. Lots of times the whoever's first name is on the as the captain, the partner doesn't get a lot of love. So, I'm sure he had a big part in it too. Thanks everyone for jumping on. We'll see how it goes. We might sneak one in next week. Got to drum up another guest, and I'm sure we'll have a few. Ran into lots of good folks in Sturgeon Bay, and the podcast is getting a lot of love. So thanks to you guys. We're gonna keep it rocking. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, comment anything. And when I say comment, I don't mean like I need my tires pumped or anything. It can just be anything. Just all that does is get the algorithm rocking, get the numbers up, and makes things like this possible to continue. If you're on Spotify, I think it's like a subscribe or review. Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and a review. Yeah, anything like that helps. And okay, well, everyone that's dealing with the high water up here, hopefully it gets better on the area, and you know get get past this. Thanks again to Adam and Brad and Allie and Sam, and everyone that put us up down in Sturgeon Bay. And yeah, it's good to see everyone again. And we'll talk to you soon. Good fishing. Walleye openers coming up. Get the oil.